The call came just after midnight, and the moment Emily heard his voice, she knew something in her world had shifted forever. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that settles deep in the walls when the rest of the neighborhood sleeps. Emily sat on her couch in the dim glow of a single lamp, a half-finished mug of tea cooling on the table. She had been reading, trying to distract herself from another long day, when her phone buzzed against the wooden surface. The screen showed a name she did not expect. Michael. Her best friend's husband. She stared at the phone. He never called. Not at this hour. Not at any hour, really. Their conversations were always light, friendly, predictable. Birthdays. Holiday dinners. Quick check-ins when planning something for Rachel. Nothing more. But it was already past midnight. She answered anyway. His voice came through low, breathless, as if he had stepped outside to avoid being heard. Emily, I need to tell you something. And I need you to listen carefully. A chill swept through her. She sat up straighter, pulling her blanket around her shoulders, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Michael? What's going on? Is Rachel okay? There was a pause. A long one. Too long. She's fine, he whispered. At least for now. But something happened tonight. Something I can't ignore anymore. Emily felt the room tighten around her. The words hung between them, heavy and unfinished. Michael wasn't dramatic. If anything, he was the calmest person she knew. He took everything slow, deliberate. He weighed his words. He never sounded like this. What happened? She asked softly. Another inhale. Another pause. Dinner, he said. It was supposed to be a normal dinner. But she said something that didn't feel like her. Something that scared me. Emily leaned forward, elbows on her knees. Scared you how? He hesitated again. She mentioned you. Her pulse quickened. Me? Why? She said she's been keeping something from you, he murmured. And from me. And she said that if anything shifted, you'd be the first to notice. Emily swallowed hard. The words circled in her mind, vague and unsettling. Michael, what is she hiding? I don't know, he said. But it felt like a warning. Or a confession she couldn't fully say. Emily closed her eyes, trying to picture her best friend. Rachel, with her warm smile and easy laugh. Rachel, who had been like family since they were teenagers. Rachel, who shared everything. Or so Emily believed. What did she look like when she said it? Emily asked. Different, he answered. Like she was somewhere else. Like she was remembering something she didn't want to say out loud. A beat. Emily, she's been acting strange for weeks. You've noticed something, haven't you? Emily hesitated. Yes. She had noticed. The small things. Missed calls. Canceling plans. The distant tone in her voice. Something guarded in her eyes. But Emily had assumed it was stress. Work. A rough patch in the marriage. Not something more. I thought she just needed space, Emily whispered. I didn't think it was anything serious. Michael's breath rustled against the receiver. I think it is serious. And I think she's afraid. A knot formed in Emily's stomach. Afraid of what? That's what I can't figure out, he admitted. But tonight made me realize I can't wait any longer. I had to call someone she trusts. And that's you. Emily rubbed her forehead, trying to calm the storm rising inside her. Did she go to bed? Yes, he said. But before she did, she said something else. And Emily, it didn't make sense. What did she say? He exhaled shakily. She said, if Emily calls tomorrow, don't tell her anything yet. She'll know when it's time. Emily froze. Her breath caught halfway to her lungs. What does that mean? I don't know, he whispered. But she said it like she expected something to happen. Something soon. Emily pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady herself. Michael, why are you telling me this now? Why not wait until morning? Because, he said, his voice cracking for the first time, I'm scared she's keeping a secret that could hurt her. Or us. Or you. The words echoed through her living room. Hurt. Her. Us. You. Emily stood and walked to the window. Outside, the street was empty, silent under the faint glow of streetlights. She felt the loneliness of the hour wrap around her. "Do you think she's in some kind of trouble?" Emily asked quietly. "I think she's trying to protect someone," Michael said. "I just don't know who." Emily pressed her forehead against the cool glass. "Michael, what do you want me to do?" There was a long moment before he spoke. "I need you to see her tomorrow," he said. "Face to face. Don't tell her I called. Just talk to her. See if she slips. See if she looks scared." A pause. "And if she is, I need you to help me figure out why." Emily closed her eyes. "Of course. I'll go. Thank you," he murmured. "I didn't know who else to turn to." They stayed silent for a moment, the weight of the night settling between them. Then Emily asked the question that had been building in her throat since she picked up the call. "Michael, are you sure this is about her? Or is something happening between the two of you?" He didn't answer right away. And in that silence, Emily felt something shift. Something subtle but sharp. As if she had stepped too close to a truth none of them were ready for. Finally, his voice came through, low and tired. "I'm not sure of anything anymore." Her heart clenched. The line stayed open, both of them breathing through the quiet, until he whispered, "Tomorrow. Please." "I'll be there," Emily said. But when she hung up, the room didn't feel like the same room she'd been sitting in an hour earlier. Everything felt heavier. And the night felt far from over. As she stood there in the silence, her phone buzzed again. A new message. From Rachel. One line. "Can we talk tomorrow? Something's been on my mind." Emily felt her throat tighten. The timing was too perfect. Too precise. Too unnerving. And for the first time, she wondered if the warning wasn't just from Michael, but from Rachel too. Emily barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Michael's voice again. Soft. Urgent. Uneasy. And then Rachel's message. So simple, yet loaded with something she couldn't name. By the time early morning light pushed against her curtains, she had already made up her mind. She would see Rachel. She would look her in the eye. She would find out what was happening beneath the surface of the woman she had trusted for most of her life. She left her house just after 8 in the morning, the air still cool, the sky pale with early daylight. Her hands trembled as she drove across town. Her thoughts twisted around themselves in circles. What was Rachel afraid of? What was she hiding? And why did Michael sound like he was holding something back? By the time she pulled up outside Rachel and Michael's townhouse, she felt her chest tighten with nerves. The place looked perfectly normal. The porch light was off. The wreath on the door hung neatly. A delivery box sat on the step. Normal. Ordinary. But nothing felt ordinary now. Emily knocked. It took a moment before the door opened, and Rachel stood there, wrapped in a loose grey sweater, her dark blonde hair still damp from a shower. She looked tired. More tired than Emily had seen her in years. But when she smiled, it was warm. Familiar. Almost enough to make Emily doubt the tension she'd felt all night. Rachel said, pulling her into a hug. "I'm so glad you came." Emily held her, breathing in the comforting scent of peppermint shampoo, but something in Rachel's arms felt lighter. Thinner. As if she had been carrying something heavy alone for too long. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet for a home that usually buzzed with easy conversation and music in the background. Michael was not there. Emily tried to keep her voice steady. "Where's Michael?" Rachel moved toward the kitchen. "He left for work early. He had something he needed to finish today." Emily nodded slowly, trying not to let her thoughts jump to conclusions. They sat at the kitchen island. Rachel made coffee, moving slowly, as if her body felt heavier than usual. Emily watched every small detail, how her friend's hands trembled, how her eyes drifted toward the window as though listening for something outside. "So," Rachel said gently, sliding a mug toward her. "I know it's early. But I wanted to talk to you before the day got away from us." Emily wrapped her hands around the warm mug, grounding herself. "I got your message," she said. "You said something was on your mind." Rachel's expression softened. But behind it, something flickered: fear, worry, exhaustion. Emily wasn't sure. Rachel leaned on her elbows, looking down for a moment before meeting Emily's eyes again. There's something I've been trying to tell you for weeks. Every time I tried, I just couldn't. Why not? Emily asked, keeping her voice calm. Rachel took a long breath. Because I'm not sure how you'll react. And because once I tell you, I can't take it back. Emily felt her heartbeat rise. Rach, she said gently, you're my closest friend. Whatever it is, you can tell me. Rachel nodded, but her eyes drifted away again, as if searching for words she wasn't ready to release. Then she asked, has Michael been acting strange around you? Emily froze. Her grip tightened on the mug. She had expected many questions. Not this one. I don't know, Emily said carefully. Why? Rachel didn't answer right away. She pushed a strand of hair behind her ear, her movements slow, thoughtful. Because he's been acting strange around me, Rachel whispered. Ever since early last month. Emily leaned forward. What kind of strange? Rachel shrugged in a small, helpless way. Quiet. Distracted. Watching me as though he's waiting for me to break. Asking questions that don't make sense. And sometimes. Her voice softened. Sometimes it feels like he's hiding something. Or noticing something I don't realize I'm doing. Emily felt a ripple of unease. This was the opposite of what Michael had told her. He'd sounded terrified for Rachel. But Rachel sounded wary of him. But that's not what I wanted to tell you, Rachel added quietly. Emily waited, breath tight. Rachel swallowed. There's something I overheard. Something Michael said when he thought I wasn't listening. Emily's chest tightened. What did he say? Rachel's fingers tapped nervously on the countertop. He was talking to someone on the phone. I don't know who. And he said, if she starts remembering things, we're going to have a problem. Rachel looked directly into Emily's eyes. And he wasn't talking about you. Emily's breath hitched. Remembering things. A problem. She thought of Michael's words at midnight. Of his nervous pauses. Of the way he had said he didn't know what Rachel was hiding. Now she wasn't sure who was hiding what. Rachel, Emily said quietly, what does he think you'll remember? Rachel shook her head slowly. I don't know. That's the part that scares me. I haven't lost any memories. Not that I'm aware of. But ever since I heard him say that, I've been watching him. Trying to understand what he meant. Emily felt her pulse in her throat. Did you ask him about it? Rachel gave a small, sad laugh. No. I couldn't. Because if there is something he's hiding, asking him directly might make things worse. Emily set her coffee aside. Has he ever made you feel unsafe? Rachel paused long enough to make Emily's lungs tighten. No, she said finally. Not unsafe. Just unsettled. Like he's trying to protect me from something I don't know is happening. Emily exhaled slowly, trying to organize the storm in her mind. Michael's fear. Rachel's worry. 2 stories, both missing the same piece. Rach, she said softly, you said you wanted to tell me something. Something important. Is it about Michael? Rachel shook her head gently. No. It's about you. Emily felt her breath catch. Rachel's eyes glistened. There's something I've kept from you for a long time. And last night, I realized I can't keep it anymore. Emily's chest tightened. What is it? Rachel blinked, tears gathering but not falling. I need to start from the beginning. And once I do, everything is going to feel different. Emily leaned in, barely breathing. Different how? Rachel's voice dropped to a whisper. You'll understand when I tell you what really happened that night. The night you don't remember. Emily's heart stopped. A night she didn't remember. And before she could speak, Rachel reached across the counter and took her hand. It's time you knew. Emily felt the world narrow to the small kitchen island and the quiet morning light stretching across the countertops. Her breath slowed. Her vision tunneled. A night she didn't remember. Rachel squeezed her hand gently, grounding her. Before I tell you, Rachel said in a steady but trembling voice, I need you to understand something. I never meant to keep this from you. I thought I was protecting you. And then time passed, and I didn't know how to bring it up. Emily nodded, unsure her voice would hold if she spoke. Rachel drew in a deep breath. It happened about 2 years ago. In early fall. You had come over that weekend because you were going through that rough patch at work. You remember that part, right? Yes, Emily whispered. Her chest ached at the memory. I remember feeling burned out. I remember staying here. Good, Rachel said softly. Because what happened that weekend, it changed everything. Even if you didn't know it. Emily felt her heart climb into her throat. What did I do? She murmured. Rachel shook her head slowly. It's not what you did. It's what happened to you. Emily's fingers tightened weakly around Rachel's. Rachel continued carefully. You were exhausted. You hadn't eaten much. You were barely sleeping. So when we opened that bottle of wine at dinner, it hit you harder than usual. Emily nodded numbly. I remember feeling lightheaded. But that's the last clear thing I remember. That's because you fainted, Rachel said quietly. Right at the table. You slumped forward, and I grabbed you before you fell. You were breathing, but you were out. Completely out. Emily stared at her, stunned. You never told me I fainted. I know, Rachel whispered. And that was my mistake. I didn't want you to feel embarrassed or scared. I thought it was just exhaustion. But then something else happened. Emily's stomach twisted. Michael. She knew it. She felt the thought even before Rachel continued. Michael carried you upstairs, Rachel said. He put you in the guest room bed. I stayed with you at first, but after a while, he told me to get some sleep because I had a long shift the next morning. Emily blinked, her heart pounding. Did he stay with me all night? Rachel hesitated. Yes. At least most of it. Emily felt a deep, confusing ache. Why? That doesn't sound like him. Exactly, Rachel said softly. That was the first time I realized something was off. When I came in early the next morning to check on you, he looked shaken, pale, like he'd seen something he didn't know how to process. Emily swallowed hard. What did he tell you? He told me you woke up in the middle of the night, Rachel said. That you were confused. That you said something he couldn't make sense of. Emily felt her skin prickle. What did I say? Rachel met her eyes with a steady sadness. You said, it wasn't an accident. Emily's breath caught. What wasn't an accident? Rachel shook her head. You didn't explain. You closed your eyes again, and you were out. The next morning, when you finally woke up, you remembered nothing. Not the fainting. Not the night. Nothing. Emily felt her pulse thudding in her ears. And you didn't tell me, she whispered, her voice trembling. Rachel's eyes filled. I know. I thought it was just exhaustion talking. People say strange things when they're half awake. But Michael, he didn't think it was random. Emily blinked. Why not? Rachel pulled in a shaky breath. Because that night, while you were unconscious, you kept flinching. Like you were dreaming something frightening. And Michael said you whispered someone's name. Emily felt her stomach flip. What name? Rachel hesitated. Yours, she said quietly. You whispered your own name. Over and over. Like you were calling out to yourself. Emily stared at her, confusion flooding her. Why would I call my own name? I don't know, Rachel said. But whatever happened that night, he never forgot it. Emily rubbed her forehead, trying to make sense of the impossible. Rach, why didn't you tell me any of this earlier? Rachel looked defeated. Because I hoped it didn't matter. I hoped it was just stress. But lately, you've been acting the same way again. Forgetting small things. Losing track of conversations. And Michael sees it too. That's why he's worried. Emily tried to breathe evenly, but her chest felt squeezed from the inside. I haven't fainted, she insisted. Nothing like that has happened again. No, Rachel said softly. But maybe whatever you were remembering that night, maybe it's trying to come back. A cold ripple moved down Emily's spine. Rachel, she whispered, what if I wasn't remembering something? What if I was dreaming? Rachel reached across and held her hand again. That's what I thought too. Until last week. Emily's head shot up. What happened last week? Rachel's voice dropped to a fragile whisper. You said it again. Emily froze. What? You were at my place for dinner, Rachel said. Remember? You stepped outside to take a call. When you came back in, your face was pale. You said, it wasn't an accident again. The same words. The same tone. And then you brushed it off like you didn't remember saying it. Emily felt the blood drain from her face. I don't remember that at all. Rachel nodded sadly. I didn't think you would. The kitchen felt smaller now, the sunlight too bright, the silence too sharp. Emily, Rachel said, I think there's a memory you've blocked out. Something that happened before that night. And I think it's trying to surface. Emily closed her eyes, her mind spinning, trying to pull anything into focus. But all she found were fragments. Feelings. Shadows. Nothing she could name. Then Rachel added quietly, and I think Michael is scared you're going to remember something he already knows. Emily's eyes flew open. A chill moved through her bones. What do you mean? She whispered. Rachel looked toward the doorway. Her voice dropped so low Emily had to lean in to hear her. Because I think whatever happened 2 years ago, he was there. Emily's heart stopped mid-beat, caught between disbelief and dread. Rachel squeezed her hand, eyes full of fear she'd been carrying alone. And Emily, there's one more thing you need to see. Something I haven't shown you. Something from that night. Emily swallowed. What is it? Rachel stood slowly and walked toward the drawer near the fridge. When she returned, she held a small folded piece of paper. A note. Old. Worn at the edges. She set it gently in front of Emily. This was in your jacket pocket the night you fainted, Rachel said. You wrote it. And I didn't understand it then. Emily stared at the note, her fingertips tingling. Read it, Rachel whispered. Emily unfolded the paper. Her own handwriting stared back at her. 3 words. Not an accident. Her breath vanished. And beneath those words, faint, almost smudged. Ask Michael. Emily's vision blurred. The room tilted. And suddenly, nothing felt safe anymore. Emily stared at the note as if it might tear itself from her hands and vanish. The paper felt thin. Too light for the weight it carried. Her own handwriting. Her own words. Words she had no memory of writing. Not an accident. Ask Michael. Her pulse thudded so loudly she could barely hear Rachel speaking. Emily, please say something. Emily lifted her eyes slowly, the edges of the room blurring. This can't be real. It is, Rachel whispered. I've kept it in the drawer for 2 years. I didn't know what it meant. I still don't. But you wrote it. Emily shook her head, the motion small and disbelieving. But why would I write something like this? What accident? What was I talking about? Rachel looked at her gently. That's what we need to figure out. Emily tried to breathe, but each inhale felt shallow, trapped beneath the weight of something she couldn't see. She set the note down carefully, as though setting down glass that might crack. What did Michael say when you found it? Emily asked. Rachel hesitated. I didn't tell him. Emily looked up sharply. Why not? Because, Rachel said softly, that next morning, the way he looked at you, it scared me. He wasn't angry. He wasn't confused. He looked like he already knew what the note meant. Emily felt a coldness seep into her chest. Rachel, are you saying Michael has been hiding something from both of us? I'm saying, Rachel replied carefully, that he reacted like someone who had been waiting for something to come back. Maybe a memory. Maybe a secret. I don't know. But he didn't look surprised. Not even for a moment. Emily stood abruptly, chair scraping softly against the floor. She paced to the window, pressing a hand to the glass. Outside, the day looked ordinary. Cars passed. A dog walker chatted on her phone. Nothing matched the storm inside her. Emily, Rachel said, talk to me. What are you thinking? Emily swallowed hard. I'm thinking I've been missing something big. Something right in front of me. If I wrote that note, if I said those words twice without remembering, something happened. Something real. Rachel nodded. I agree. Then Rachel's voice changed, quiet, thoughtful, edged with hesitation. Emily, can I tell you something else? Emily turned. Please. Rachel clasped her hands together, as if steadying herself. Over the past few months, Michael has become more protective of you. Emily blinked. Protective? Of me? Yes, Rachel said. He asks when you're coming over. He wants updates after you leave. He notices when you seem stressed. He even checks in with me about how you're doing. Emily felt her breath hitch. That doesn't sound like him. It isn't, Rachel said. Not like this. Not this intense. Emily's mind raced through memories, small things she had brushed off. Michael asking if she got home safely. Michael watching her a little too closely during dinner last month. Michael texting her about a headache she mentioned once. What did you think it meant? Emily whispered. Rachel sighed softly. I didn't know. And I still don't. But the timing of it all, it lines up with when you said those words again last week. It's like he's watching for signs. Signs of what? Signs of remembering? The thought made her stomach twist. Emily returned to the table, sitting slowly. Rachel, there's something I need to ask you. And I need you to be completely honest. Rachel nodded. Always. Do you think Michael believes I know something? Or that I used to know something? Rachel folded her fingers together, her expression troubled. Yes, she said softly. I do. And I think he's terrified that it's coming back. Emily felt the room tilt again. But why would he call me last night, Emily murmured, if he's the one who knows what I'm forgetting? Rachel's eyebrows drew together. He called you? Emily froze. She hadn't meant to say it. Not yet. But Rachel's confusion was too real, too raw to ignore. Emily forced herself to meet her best friend's eyes. He called me just after midnight, she said slowly. He told me you said something at dinner. That you were acting strange. That you're hiding something. That you said I'd know when things shifted. He said he was worried. Rachel's face went pale. I never said anything like that, she whispered. None of it. Emily's heart sank. I was afraid you'd say that. Rachel leaned forward, her eyes sharp with growing dread. Emily, why would he call you and lie? Why twist my words? Emily shook her head helplessly. I don't know. But something felt off. He was scared. Or pretending to be. I couldn't tell. Rachel covered her mouth briefly, trying to breathe through rising panic. She whispered, I think we've been looking at this wrong. Emily frowned. What do you mean? Rachel lowered her hand, her expression shifting with a fragile clarity. You fainted here. You woke up saying something wasn't an accident. You wrote a note telling yourself to ask him. He acted like he already knew. And now he's trying to control the story between us. Emily felt the pieces click into place, slow and horrible. Rachel continued, voice barely above a whisper. What if the secret isn't about me? Or us? A breath. What if the secret is about him? Emily's pulse hammered. Rachel went on, the truth forming itself word by word. And what if he's afraid of what you'll remember, because he was the reason you forgot it? Emily's breath caught so sharply it hurt. She stared at Rachel, the room spinning, her mind surfacing old sensations she had always ignored. A moment 2 years ago. A flash of confusion. A feeling of falling. A voice she couldn't place. A touch she didn't fully understand. A darkness she couldn't explain. Rachel reached across the table again, her hand trembling. Emily, you fainted. But what if it wasn't just exhaustion? What if something happened that night? Something neither of us realized. Something he never told us. Emily's throat tightened until she could hardly speak. Rachel, are you saying Michael might have? No, Rachel said quickly, shaking her head. I'm not accusing him of anything terrible. I'm saying he might know something. Something he kept from both of us. Something he didn't want to resurface. Emily's eyes burned. What could he possibly know? Rachel exhaled, her fear and empathy blending together. I don't know, she whispered. But you need to talk to him. Emily stiffened. Alone? Rachel nodded slowly. Yes. Because whatever this is, it's between you and him. Emily looked down at the note again. Not an accident. Ask Michael. Her own handwriting. A message from a version of herself she didn't remember. And just as she reached out to fold the note, her phone buzzed on the countertop. She froze. Rachel's breath caught. Emily turned the phone over slowly, afraid of the name she might see. One message. From Michael. 3 words. We need talk. Emily's pulse roared in her ears as the screen blurred. Rachel reached for her. Emily, what does he want? Emily stared at the message, her whole body cold. I think, she whispered, he knows I'm starting to remember. Emily stared at the message until the screen dimmed, but the weight of those 3 words stayed heavy in her chest. We need talk. Short. Urgent. And too perfectly timed. Rachel watched her, worry tightening her features. You don't have to answer him right now. Emily swallowed, her voice barely steady. I think I do. She typed back with trembling fingers. When? The reply came almost instantly. Now. I'm on my way. Emily felt the air drain from the room. Rachel stood, her body tense. He's coming here. Emily nodded. Then I'm not leaving you alone, Rachel said, her tone firm. But Emily shook her head slowly. No. I need to talk to him privately. You said it yourself. Rachel hesitated. Emily. I'll be okay, Emily whispered, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Stay close. Just, not in the room. Rachel didn't like it, but she nodded. I'll be in the hallway. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call out, and I'll come in. Emily reached for her hand gratefully. Thank you. They moved around the kitchen slowly, silently. Emily folded the note and slid it into her pocket. She wiped her palms on her jeans, trying to breathe normally, trying to settle her frantic heartbeat. A knock came sooner than expected. 3 soft taps. Measured. Controlled. Michael's knock. Emily's stomach twisted. Rachel slipped away toward the hallway before Emily opened the door. Michael stood on the porch, hands tucked into his jacket pockets, shoulders tense. His face looked drawn, tired, guarded. His eyes flicked over her quickly, searching, assessing. Emily, he said quietly. She stepped aside. Come in. He entered with slow, cautious steps, as if worried the floor might shift beneath him. When they reached the living room, he stopped and turned to face her fully. He studied her for a long moment. Did you talk to Rachel this morning? Emily kept her voice steady. Yes. Michael exhaled, but it wasn't a sigh of relief. It sounded more like resignation. So, he said softly, I guess you know something isn't right. Emily swallowed. Michael, what happened 2 years ago? His expression tightened in an instant. She didn't miss it. Not this time. A flash of discomfort. A flicker of fear. Something he tried to hide behind a slow inhale. I was hoping, he murmured, we could talk about this gently. We are, Emily said. But I need the truth. Michael looked down at his hands, then back at her. All right, he said quietly. Sit with me. They sat across from each other, Emily on the sofa, Michael in the armchair opposite her. The space between them felt like a thin bridge holding back a tide neither of them understood. Michael leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You fainted that night, he said. You know that much. Emily nodded. But what you don't know, he continued, is what happened right before it. Her pulse quickened. Emily, you were arguing with someone. She blinked. What? With who? Michael shook his head slowly. I never saw them. I only heard part of it. You stepped outside to take a call. I heard your voice rising. You sounded scared. Not angry. Scared. When I came outside to check on you, the call had ended, and you looked pale. Shaken. You kept saying, it wasn't an accident. Over and over. Emily felt her throat tighten. What accident? She whispered. Michael hesitated. He looked almost ashamed. I didn't ask, he admitted. You were so distressed that I thought the priority was getting you inside, getting you calm. But as soon as we walked into the kitchen, you fainted. Emily pressed a hand to her mouth. And the note? She asked. Why didn't you tell me I wrote it? Michael sat back, his jaw tightening. Because when Rachel found it and showed it to me, you were still out cold. And the look on your face when you fainted, I thought something awful had happened. I didn't want to frighten you. When you woke up the next morning completely normal, I thought, maybe forgetting was best. Maybe whatever happened on that call wasn't something you needed to carry. Emily shook her head slowly. That wasn't your decision to make. I know, he whispered. I know that now. Silence pressed between them. Emily forced herself to ask, why did you call me last night? Why lie about Rachel? Michael flinched. I didn't lie. But he struggled with the words. Emily noticed. I called because I'm worried, he said. Not about Rachel. About you. Emily sat back, hurt and frustration twisting inside her. Then why blame her? She asked softly. Why say she said things she didn't say? Michael rubbed his hands together, tense and restless. I was afraid you wouldn't listen if I said it directly. I thought you'd brush me off the way you brushed off the strange moments these past few months. Emily bit down on the inside of her cheek. He went on, voice cracking slightly. Emily, the things you said last week? On the porch? You don't remember. But I do. And I knew something from that night was coming back. I didn't know how to warn you without sounding like I was losing it. Emily felt her anger soften, just a fraction. His fear wasn't fake. His confusion was real. But she still didn't have the answer she needed. Michael, she said quietly, what do you think I'm remembering? He looked up slowly. And the truth in his eyes froze her. I think someone hurt you, he whispered. Not physically. Not violently. But emotionally. Deeply. And I think you buried it. I think that phone call was the moment it surfaced. And the stress you've been under lately is waking it up again. Emily stared at him. A chill spread through her chest. That night, Michael continued, when I stayed with you, when you woke up in the middle of the night, you said something else. Emily blinked. What did I say? Michael swallowed. You said, he knew. Emily's breath caught. Who? She whispered. I don't know, he said gently. But Emily, when you said it, you weren't dreaming. Your eyes were open. You were looking right at me. And for a moment, you didn't seem like yourself. You seemed like someone who'd just realized something important. Emily felt tears sting her eyes. And then, she asked. And then, he said softly, you closed your eyes and didn't wake up again until morning. Emily pressed a hand to her heart, trying to make sense of the fragments. An argument. A phone call. Someone who knew something. A truth she had buried. Rachel stepped quietly from the hallway then, unable to stay away any longer. Her voice trembled with both fear and relief. Michael, why didn't you tell me any of that? He looked at her with exhausted eyes. Because Emily trusted me that night, he whispered. And I thought protecting her meant forgetting it. Emily wiped her cheeks. Michael, do you think I'm in danger? No, he said quickly. I think you're remembering something painful. Something emotional. But not dangerous. Emily nodded slowly, letting the truth sink in. She wasn't being threatened. She wasn't being watched. She wasn't part of some dark secret she couldn't name. She had been hurt by someone she trusted, someone whose identity she had buried so deeply that her mind had locked the memory away. She wasn't unsafe. Just wounded. And beginning to heal. Rachel sat beside her, taking her hand gently. Whatever this memory is, she said softly, you're not facing it alone. Michael nodded. You have both of us. I should have told you sooner. I'm sorry. Emily breathed slowly, letting the panic ease. The truth wasn't solved, not entirely. The memory was still buried. But the fear was lighter. The darkness less sharp. 3 people now shared the weight instead of one. She looked between them, her best friend, and the man who, in his own flawed way, had tried to protect her. We'll figure it out, Emily said softly. All of it. Together. And for the first time since the midnight call, she believed it.